Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
With supply chains becoming more complex, you need to stay on top of the latest logistics developments. So if you work with logistics, you need the Beyond the Box podcast from Maersk. It's the easy way to keep up to date with everything from digital disruption in logistics to the need for supply chain resilience in today's market. Find out more and keep ahead of the game with the Beyond the Box podcast on logistics insights at maersk.com/insights.
We work hard as physicians to take care of the health and well-being of our patients. But when it comes to our money, do we have the same condition of care? Probably not. Let's change that together. Welcome to the Financial Freedom for Physicians podcast, where we'll fight and advocate for your financial literacy. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu. Thanks for being here. Let's jump into the show. Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode, and I'm really happy to introduce Kelly Learden. She empowers female entrepreneurs to embrace warrior energy. We'll find out what that is, strategic success in business, family, and life. She's got a fantastic story journey, and now she's helping other people do the same thing. For the female entrepreneurs out there, executives, professionals in the audience, I think Kelly's message will really resonate with you. So Kelly, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I am super pumped to be here.
Yeah, I really, like I said, I love talking to people just doing things on the cutting edge, and really, I always come away inspired and with insights. So how did you get started? What did you do? I know you got a inspiring story, and share with the audience.
Yes, I am a recovered workaholic. I always like to tell people workaholism is the one addiction that corporate America will reward you for, praise you for, promote you for, and give you raises for. So I was a well-rewarded workaholic. And the sad part was I, over time, really started to identify with that insane work ethic that I have. And I found my value in what I could produce. And that became more and more important to me. And I started to neglect my husband and my children, and started to value the wrong things, and didn't realize how sick I was. Now looking back, it blows my mind, some of the stuff I did during that period of time. So as an example, my husband didn't like how much I was working. I took my laptop to bed every night, and I would literally hide my laptop under the bathroom sink. And then I would get up to go to the bathroom, quote unquote, in the middle of the night, so I could sit on the bathroom floor and send one more email. I would hide my laptop in my purse and go to the grocery store and sit in the parking lot for an hour and do email from the grocery store parking lot. And so I climbed the ladder pretty quickly, was, like I said, pretty well rewarded for that. And it was starting to lead to some issues in my relationships. And the long story short is, on my daughter's wedding day, she was getting married a few hours from our house. So I was the one driving the bridesmaids and bride to the wedding, and the phone rang. It was the CEO of the company I was working for. And I answered it. And he was calling super mad about something that had happened and wanted me to replace someone, which was basically my dream promotion. And so he was calling to offer me that. He knew it was my daughter's wedding day. He called anyway. And I met her eyes in the rearview mirror, and it crushed me. And I knew I could never, ever get that moment back. And it was basically the straw that broke the donkey's back. I gave my notice. Of course, me being me, I gave like 20 weeks notice for something ridiculous, but left corporate to start my own business. I started off as a certified fractional director of operations, which is just a fancy way of saying I was serving as a director of ops in multiple different companies. Started the Walk Like Warriors page of Instagram in June of 2023. It was seriously just a passion project. I was helping other people build their businesses. I didn't really have anything, any place I was showing up online. Just started showing up, talking about my passions, talking about my faith, pouring into people. And all of a sudden, one thing led to another. People started DMing me, will you please coach me? At first told people, nope, I don't do that kind of thing. I only coach the executives I work with. Realized after a few months of that I was flat out crazy. I should just try it. And within a month of trying it, I had a full coaching calendar. Started building a group coaching wait list for Walk Lake Warriors, the group coaching program that filled and sold out. This was all in December of that same year. So within 6 months, I call it the accidental business. I know what I'm doing in business, but I didn't think I was going to apply all of that strategy to my own thing, if you would call it that. And essentially the one thing I did different, which was really helpful with this new pivot into business coaching, was that I set really good and strong and healthy boundaries on the front end, because the one thing I know from working so closely with high-powered people, especially entrepreneurs and small business owners, is that they tend to be the worst CEO they have ever worked for. They tend to not be able to shut it off. They tend to take their laptop to all their kids' sports games and on vacation. They neglect all the important relationships in their life, and they don't mean to do it. And so I wanted to ensure I didn't repeat the horrible things that I had done before. And so built my business with the end in mind, which was really important to me.
Yeah, and we all have stories that just basically the breaking point where it's just like no more. I'm not going to do that. Just basically putting your foot down. And so one thing I really noticed during your intro is this idea. There's a lot of workaholics, entrepreneurs. We're very driven, type A. But at a core, we need to feel validated. And part of that is people pleasing and playing up to others. So it's really a problem among doctors as well, because we can't say no, and then all of a sudden we get stressed and leads to burnout. So talk about this idea of people pleasing personality and how you recover from that. You talked about putting boundaries up. We'll start with there.
Yes, it's such a great question. And like you said, like with doctors, a lot of entrepreneurs, they're similar to doctors in that they start wanting to help people. And so that really healthy drive that sort of gets the thing going can become what I call a sickness. Like workaholism, it's like an addiction. You don't realize how sick you are and how it's ruining your relationships until you get out of it and look back and think that was wild that I did that. And for me personally, I think it's digging into where's that coming from. And so for me, I had identified my identity was in what I produced. It wasn't necessarily making people happy. It was, I'm going to outwork everybody because that's the thing that they value, instead of valuing me as a human being with intrinsic worth. It was, well, they care about me, and the praise that I'm getting all has to do with the output, right? Like it was all about the output. So I identified that even as a child, I was very driven to work harder than everybody else because I thought that was the only value that I could bring. And I think so the step one is identifying where that's coming from. If it is people pleasing, one of the things that can happen is that we start prioritizing the people pleasing and wanting to make other people happy with us. We have no boundaries up, but often we end up hurting the people who love us most by people pleasing those outside of the four walls of our home. And the real tragedy is all those people we're people pleasing for, they're not with us at the end of our life. So one of my favorite business axioms is begin with the end in mind. And you know what? We're not going to have those client relationships. We're not going to have those brand partnerships. We're not going to have those work relationships typically at the end of our life. The only thing that lasts is those really big rock relationships. And so people pleasing, workaholism, all of that, we have to look. It's so hard. Anyone can be smart, but wisdom is being able to apply the smarts, right? And so the wisest among us, I think they have this consciousness that we're not here forever, that this is all going to end. How do we want that to look? What's going to be the most valuable to us? So some of it is in service to others, but hopefully a bigger part of that is building really solid relationships with the people that know us and love us best. And so that to me was a really important part of my healing journey through that process.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the kind of symptoms of people pleasing is guilt and shame. So when these feelings come up, when you say no, I'm not going to do this, and you have this like you kind of have this visceral reaction, you're and guilt and shame. How do you deal with those emotions? How do you reconcile them? And I know it feels bad in the moment to say no, but then you kind of have to otherwise people are just gonna walk all over you.
Yes, so true. And it was so after I left corporate, I started what I call a never again list. And it
Mhm.
was like all the things I'm never again going to do is very therapeutic for me. And
Yeah.
so one of them, I know people will think this is wild, but the first thing was never again will I work on holidays. On Easter Sunday, the CEO, CFO, CRO, and COO had all called me within a 5 hour period on Easter Sunday. I had a house full of people that I was serving. I was busy with family and I kept running into my office to answer my phone. So then another one was I'm not going to work nights and weekends. Oh, that was so hard. And let me tell you, as I pivoted into business coaching, there's a lot of people who are side hustling that say, well, I can't do my coaching call before 5 Eastern. I work and I need to. And so, of course, people pleasing me and trying to build my business, I started taking some of them. And then I just realized I'm repeating the same things. So I would say is having that list. I mean, this kind of goes to strategy, but actually writing down so that when that people pleasing crops up, we have this funnel, right? That we can like filter our decisions through. It does make it easier. It takes some of the emotion out of it and helps us be able to say, oh, you know what? I really, really would love to do that. I don't do work events after 5 on Fridays. Oh, you know what? I would love to take another client. Oh my goodness, working with you would be so amazing. I do have a wait list. I'll put you at the tippy top, but I'm at my capacity right now, but you will be the first to know. So sort of like blaming this outside entity. And I think when we start doing it, we're shocked at how people normally are. Oh, okay. Like they don't, I think we think they're going to go ballistic and shame us and make us feel terrible. But instead we realize we're doing that to ourselves out of fear. And I'm a person of faith. The book of Proverbs, I mean, even if someone's not a person of faith, it's packed with so much wisdom. And one of the things it says, Proverbs 29:25, I think it says, fear of man will prove to be a snare. Isn't
Mm.
that powerful?
Yeah.
The fear of other people is like a net that a bird gets trapped in, and no matter what it does, it can't go. It can't do what it's supposed to do. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot of people pleasing is actually boils down to a fear of man. We want them to love us and to think we're a good boy or a good girl. But ultimately, we're afraid. We're afraid of what they might say. We're afraid of disappointing them. Afraid. It all goes back to that one core thing. And quite often that's fear.
At Evernorth Health Services, we believe costs shouldn't get in the way of life-changing care, and we're doing everything in our power to make it possible. Behavioral health solutions that also keep your projections at their best? It's possible. Pharmacy benefits that benefit your bottom line? It's possible. Complex specialty care that cares about your ROI? It's possible. Because we're already doing it. All while saving businesses billions. That's Wonder made possible. Learn more at evernorth.com/wonder.
Forget the burdens of tenants and toilets. Equity Multiple simplifies your investment journey, letting you invest passively in vetted, professionally managed commercial real estate. Only 5% of reviewed investments reach Equity Multiple's platform, with our asset management working on each from funding through exit to maximize your returns. Whether you're on the couch, in your exec chair, or the backseat of a ride share, Equity Multiple brings cash flowing real estate investments straight to your fingertips. All investments involve risk. Visit equitymultiple.com to learn more. It's always like you have to have your, best self-interest in mind. So that's kind of, we talk about, mind shift, set shifts for success. The other question I have is warrior energy, and what is warrior energy, and what this concept means to you and how it's played a role in your own journey.
Yes. So my business the coaching business is called Walk Like Warriors. And I know some people are like, what does that mean? If someone has gotten to this point in the interview, they are probably thinking to themselves, Whoa, she's got a lot of passion. She's very excited, and I am. So my name, Kelly, actually means warrior woman in Irish. And so we have Irish blood in us. And so my siblings teased me endlessly about that when I was growing up. But then as I got older, I kind of liked it. And I realized that's why a lot of people come to me for coaching, is that I teach a message of focus and fearlessness. And so just like our brave men and women in uniform, just like warriors from a long time ago, it's a certain fearlessness. It's a certain ferociousness in the way we do things, whether we want to or not. We do what needs to be done, and working with a lot of intensity and passion and focus. And so that transfers, speaking of being a workaholic, speaking of people pleasing, all these things, that transfers to my philosophy with Walk Like Warriors. And the way I coach is to build the life of your dreams, build the business of your dreams, but also the personal life of your dreams. And so that's why I think a lot of really highly driven people, right? Doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, what happens is we're getting positive feedback loops in the world where we're getting money. And so we can tend to go too far into that world without also building the personal life where maybe we're not getting as many positive feedback loops, but that's what will ultimately fill us. And so a really big thing with Walk Like Warriors is I want everybody working hard, but also playing hard. So taking that same energy and being like, I'm all in with my business, but I'm also all in with my life. This is so much fun. And then also resting hard. That's where we take care of ourselves. We have a day where we are not busy, busy, busy. We're not going and doing a 12-mile run. We're not working on catching up on emails. So it really is a work hard, play hard, rest hard mentality. I think when we get all three of those spheres just right, we feel really good. We just feel so fulfilled. We feel so positive about the life that we're building. And I think when any one of those three areas gets really far off track, it's when we just start feeling like, what I don't really like the life that I've built, and I'm not really sure why.
Yeah. What percentage of high performers? Because usually, I can tell you're operating from passion, and but what percentage of performers, surgeons, doctors, lawyers, athletes, celebrities, are operating from this fear of emotional trauma in childhood, or I'm not enough, or I need to do this to be loved? What percentage are operating from that framework versus, into this framework of I do it because I love it and I'm good at it? I'm just curious for my own thoughts.
Are you asking me to weigh in on the athletes and the actors and all of that, or weigh in on entrepreneurs? Like what percentage of entrepreneurs do I think are like that?
Well, just anyone's like
In general?
high level successful.
Yeah. So it's weird. It's one of those strange and interesting aspects of life that a lot of times the most wounded people are the end up like, if you look at the top percentage of people, top earners, top executives, top startup tech, a lot of times they have brokenness in their childhood. And so it's like this sense of either righting a wrong or overcoming. I think that's really, really powerful. I think as a percentage of those people who have those, my daughter, I'm going to just give you a little bit of background. My daughter, she's like 5 foot nothing, weighs less than 100 pounds. She's a counselor at a men's prison. And so I can tell you from broken families and growing up in poverty, a lot of people don't have that successful outcome. Right. So, I mean, I think sometimes it's easy to look at the top ones where they've got this brokenness in their background. I think the majority of people have brokenness in their background. I really do. I think a lot of people have had something tragic happen. And sometimes that tragic thing is you're the kid in the home who either doesn't get the attention or gets too much attention, where you just feel like you're always wrestling these invisible bullies from your childhood, whether that bully is poverty or alcoholism or some kind of horrific accident or a family member who's struggling with mental or physical illness. I think that can really drive people to sort of rise up and get to that next level. The sad thing is like that thing, it's like they're a horse and that thing in their past, that ghost is like whipping them on the back to get them to keep going. And the sad thing is when we don't explore that and really get down to the root of what's going on, all the success in the world, we still feel that whip on our back. And it becomes like it's never enough, trying to beat back those old demons. And so, I mean, there are so many things I could go into just like from a spirituality standpoint about how all the success in the world will not give anybody what they actually want. And that's why you see so many athletes. What happens? They end up in prison. They end up running drug ring. Like there's just so much chaos. And we all laugh about the Hollywood celebrities and what happens to the vast majority of them. And don't even get me started about their kids, right? Like we see this like top 1/10 of 1% and we admire them, but how quickly they fall. And I think there's just, I mean, we can look at them and think, well, why did so-and-so commit suicide? Why did so-and-so, drive themselves in the ground with drugs or alcohol? It's because there's that invisible monster behind us, whipping us on the back, keep going, keep going. And at some point we wake up and it's like, you know what? No matter what I do, it's not enough for me to feel whole. And so that, I mean, like with Walk Like Warriors, some of this does get explored. I mean, I'm a business coach, but sometimes it feels like I'm doing a lot of, it can be a lot of therapy at times, but it is helping people. I really like that principle of the big rocks, the medium rocks, and the sand, the 2 jars, right? So you have to put the big rocks in first, and work is not a big rock.
Yeah.
I think people think that it is because it takes up the most time and mental bandwidth. But I can tell you, having worked, because even before I was a director of ops, I've always worked with small business owners. You would be amazed at, they have reached the pinnacle. I mean, hit every goal they ever wanted to. And it's really sad, the ones who have just destroyed relationships to get there, they are the most miserable people you will ever spend time with. And that's where I talked about, I have so much shame about that story, but the more I tell it, the more I'm able to tell it without crying. But that was the path I was headed down on my daughter's wedding day, meeting eyes with her in the rearview mirror. Like I was choosing all those wrong things. And oh my word, I cannot even put into words how grateful I am. I feel like I was yanked back from the brink because it is so easy to choose that. And it's so rewarding. But I really feel like, I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like somewhere way deep down, it does start to feel like it's not ever enough. Like we're not even sure what we're chasing anymore after a while.
Yeah. Yeah. I've similar. I've similar things. It's just like, it's never good enough. It's just like, it's just endless rat race and it's just greed and excess. And it's kind of like, you have to step back and look at your motivations. Like, why are you doing this? You don't have to do this. Your quality of life is good. Like, what are you trying to be like Mark Zuckerberg or like, these people that are just idolized, but they have their problems too. So one thing is interesting is I love how you incorporate faith and, just with the world going on, I'm always looking for timeless wisdom. So how do you incorporate your faith into coaching and how does it impact your business and with how can people find you? And I really enjoyed this conversation.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed it too. So 1/3 of my coaching clients are not people of faith. And so it's not like that's a prerequisite or anything like that to work with me, but they have to understand that it does drive the way I view life. So I believe that we are uniquely designed, that we are at our best when we are in good relationships with other people, primarily the people closest to us, and we're designed to serve others. The most satisfied entrepreneurs that I've ever worked with, whether it doesn't matter what the product is, it could be a paper planner, it could be, a big home remodel company. They believe that what they're doing is helping other people. It's a very important aspect. I think that it drives the way that I coach because I coach from, let's start with the end in mind. And I want to know about your family first. I want to know, it's very holistic as far as like, how are these things doing? Do we need to set some good fence posts around work time? Okay, that's good. We now what do we want in the business? But the entrepreneurs that it's just about up and to the right as far as money, it's so odd coaching people like that because even when they hit the goal, they're not happy, right? Like they can't sit there and say, this is amazing. And when I'm coaching, the majority of the ones I coach, faith or not, when they are driven by a higher purpose, they really feel like they're showing up and they're changing people's lives. It is night and day difference. I mean, they're more excited about not the dollars in the bank, but the number of people they were able to help or the number of people they could help. And so that's where that like undergirding, I think it would be sad to think that, okay, we live, we build these businesses, we die, we go into the ether. So I'm driven by like all of this actually matters. It has long-term value and it has long-term importance. And so I think that like the matters of faith are, a lot of Christians have done a ton of really bad things. Not all people are like that. So try not to paint with broad brushes, but when we're doing what we're supposed to be doing as people of faith, our number one law is love God. What people don't get is our number two law is love people. And so when we're doing those two things, we show up in ways that other people just can't even fathom. And so I think that's like a big part of my company is I believe in customer obsession. So I'm absolutely obsessed with my customers. I think about them all the time. I show up and serve them. I try to go not 1 extra mile, 10 extra miles, but that comes from my faith because I truly care about people. Like even just when we were talking before the show, I'm like, this is such a great man. He's just so cool. Like I could hang out with him. And so I think that's part of like, I tend to draw people who are like me, who are just like lovers of people. And so that just makes it all the much more worthwhile because I'm helping other people build businesses that they wake up and they just feel really, really good about. Oh, and where can people find me? See, like, this is why I love what I do so much. I'm like the world's first marketer. Okay, so my name means warrior woman. So on Instagram, it's Walk Like Warriors. I do free coaching and Instagram stories every day. There's underscores between each of the words. And then the website is walklikewarriors.com. So it's nice and easy. And there's some freebies there, top right corner. There's some really good, there's like 5 books I think every person should read this year. So it's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I love that. And I really enjoyed this conversation and just really talking, kind of setting boundaries for the audience. And be sure to give Kelly's socials a like and follow and check out her works, reach out to her for coaching. And for that, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate your time.
I'm excited that you made it for another episode. You are truly the best. If you've been following the show for a while, you know that my passion is to bring you the education you need to find your path to financial freedom. Please come back week after week for new content, new resources, and great guests. Until then, if you haven't already, please be sure to check out the website, www.drchrislewmdphd.com for more support. I'll see you next week.